The battle has subsided. The dawn has come. The U.S. troops have fixed up their wounded. And, I don't know, the questions, real quick, how did they treat these surviving Nosians, the wounded? So let's ask the question. I want to go 50-50, and I got a feeling they might be a little upset. So I'll go with 50-50. Did they kill any of these wounded attackers? 50-50. 59, yes. They didn't waste any medical supplies on them. Medical supplies are thin. And McGriffin got together a crew and said, we got to dispose of all the bodies of the attackers. And I think somebody said, hey, I got a couple that are alive. And he said, no, they're not. We don't have the meds for them. We barely got enough for our own people. Find a place for the bodies. And they do begin a burial detail with no survivors. I mean, there might have been some that were wounded and got themselves out of there, or their friends got them out. But if they came across non-walking wounded, they did not treat them. This is well beyond the Geneva Convention. It's all gone to hell. However, Krieg is kind of like parading around the battlefield. He's even pulled some of the little vehicles. I don't know what they were. They're not a technicals, so probably just some scouting type vehicles because he blew the technicals up. But he's rolling around. He's got a fancy Riedel glass. That's actually what this is. This is a cognac glass. Very out of place, but he's been inside his quarters, which were the hospital, the psychiatric hospital that he's been set up in running interrogations before things even went bad. And he's walking around with literally a handle. So 1.75, call it the handle, because most of them have a handle, of Wild Turkey 101. That's Krieg's favorite drink, Wild Turkey 101. He feels like he's a bit of a wild turkey. He is. And he's pouring it around into canteen cups for folks. He's got some poured into his own cognac Riedel glass, but he's sharing out his whiskey. Now, he's not being sloppy with it, but for those that want to taste, it's post-victory celebration, and he's celebrating. He's got his grease gun with the suppressor, making it kind of large, strapped around. He's telling tales of the recon motorcyclist that he took out, the sniper that he dropped, and the which was all of his troops. Well, he was making contact kills, and their eventual location of where the mortars were coming from, and his plan that led to the complete destruction of what was probably going to be the coup de grace for the headquarters section. You know, the technicals come in, the suicide vehicles first, detonates and destroys a whole section of the headquarters, and then the technicals come in and rock and roll. That never happened. Not to mention maybe more mortars dropping. Krieg the hero. I'm curious. So he's walking around. He's poured some of this from Major McGiffin. Or does he drink? I bet you McGiffin doesn't take a drink. I think it's almost impossible that he takes a drink. 25% chance. 75. He does not. McGiffin's like, no, on duty. On duty? Okay. I think First Sergeant Wilson takes some. He's like, when the heck am I going to see Wild Turkey 101 again? Good point, Wilson. Good point. Let me have a sip. So, I think Krieg and McGiffin, I think McGiffin is just, McGriffin. I can never get his name right. I apologize. I think Major McGriffin is still like Krieg. I could not believe when you told me you were going outside the wire. I thought, this guy's nuts. And wow. You showed your mettle. And Major McGiffin is ecstatic. The other guys with them, the Jan's crew as Marauders are like, that explosion, that mushroom cloud of a vehicle, that was us. That was a third Saab loaded to blow, along with a couple technicals and the mortars. That's why you heard nothing else. We basically, Krieg says, we broke the attack. I don't even need to roll for any of that. Not only is it, it's bragging, but it is also true, and it actually probably did save that last headquarters section. So Krieg achieved that, all he wished there. He's got a definite reputation after that going outside the wire. No doubt about it. And he's pouring the Wild Turkey 101 freely. First Sergeant, although he takes a sip, because again, when's he going to see Wild Turkey again? He's also got security details out. Humvees are up and running. We got 50 gunners replaced. There's burial details working. The wounded are being treated. You've probably got a skeleton crew of about half standing up, so 20 folks doing some kind of protection / rolling out and checking the wall and the perimeter and seeing, is this really over? Because you don't ever know it's over until it's over. And but by this point, it's been confirmed. Coming into the scene where, and I did go look it up, it's Alec who's the youngest kid. So we have Casimir, the 16-year-old, middle brother Eddick, and Alec was killed. And I think that's where we open this scene up, is the brothers Casimir and Eddick just kind of devastated. And I see Casimir kind of almost cradling his 10-year-old brother's body and sitting there kind of against the sandbags. And I kind of picture Eddick, fixing his hair, just tender and devastating and soft. And I picture almost like the rocking motion, like they're reducing back to childhood a little bit. I don't know. It's the mental breaks occurred for the orphans, the two surviving brothers. Pacheco's death, then the youngest brother's death, and I still think that stepping out of that, there'll be a future episode. I could see them as the future episode. So I believe First Sergeant Wilson comes back up and sees the passing of the youngest and simply says, we'll bury them together. And they know that means Pacheco and Alec. I'm not going to play through the funeral, although I think it would just be a few individuals. Krieg's not there, the first sergeant's there, and Casimir and, of course, Eddick are there as Pacheco and Alec are laid to rest. Meanwhile, Casimir, just hand in his left pocket, just kind of playing with that coin. He does ask someone who's bilingual, Polish and English, to transcribe the sayings on the coin. And so now he knows what the different sayings are and what the Latin is, forever ready, on the back. And I think it's starting to forge his character. And hopefully we'll see more of them in the future. But I believe we must now roll around to Sanchez. The troops, he was in the Humvee with the 50 to the south and east, just got tore up. Now he survived. Had a round come in and kind of either glance or do some damage, probably after a ricochet off of the gun or shield or whatever. and break some ribs. So he's got broken ribs. Probably nothing new to Sanchez. Marine, he was rough areas, maybe experienced broken ribs before, maybe not. Worse was his left forearm, took that one sniper's round while he's on the gun and broke his left arm. He stayed in the fight. That's going to be treated by the docs that are there. They still have great facilities. There's some medics around. And I just want to check on one thing. Not the ribs. The ribs will be fine. It was even listed as a more minor. It was a number 2 on the dorsal injury. I want to see how this left arm, how bad was the break? And I'm going to go with just 50-50. It'll heal up in time, whatever that is. So that's 75% chance or greater. 70. 70 even. He's got it probably splinted. I don't think they would have had the ability to do casts, but as a medic in the Army, you would have these foam, like metal foldable foam, and you could set it pretty good along with an ace bandage. And he's been given some antibiotics, and the arm's been treated and will heal up fine. Boy, did he hold up on his corner and defended his area superbly. You know, one of his goals was to get in the mix and prove himself, and he's definitely come out of that very good. When I was post last show, I looked, and my numbers were 30 U.S. troops, but glancing back at the other shows, I talked about how just because that was the number that I was going to use, it could have meant some people never got the message and never collapsed back in, or hid out and didn't engage in the main battle. So I've set the actual number of survivors on the U.S. side at 40. And that would be about right. They had about 100 troops. 60% casualties is heavy. But this was a heavy infiltration fight. So that rings true to me that there's only 40 U.S. troops left. You get pretty sparse. You got the 10 marauders that are also with Krieg. But I think there is enough food. There's enough food gathered, and with the cut of 60% of your personnel and all the farmers, they'll have enough food to handle the base. Holding the base could be still tenuous. One of the open thread questions for Season 2, and there's been enough positive feedback, I will do Season 2, and it will probably focus around the orphans, so they may move away. So Season 3, if there is one, could be back at the base, back with Krieg, who knows? Or maybe the orphans stay on at the base. I have no idea. But the questions that will be open are the Nesian populations. Still friendly? Or still hostile? What are they? Where are they at? What's the feeling towards Bartek? Where's Bartek? He wasn't found in this. So does he get more powerful, or is this something where he doesn't survive it? That's an open thread that we'll leave for next time. The gold's still out there. The whole reason Major McGiffin tied in with Krieg was this promise of gold in up near Warsaw. And so that is obviously a future open thread. Now, threads we're going to close. We've closed Sanchez wounds, Pacheco's burial along with Alex burial. Lena's husband. I'm going to do just, was he left alive? 50-50. Ooh, 95. Wow. Well, that's a no. So it's just a no, though. He's not alive. So although they captured him, it sounds like he was killed. Not good for Lena, because next, I think before we close, I want to close this. It opened a little bit dark. We'll close it dark. But Krieg gets his fill of hanging out with the guys. And he wanders in to his office in his typical spot inside the psychiatric hospital. And Jan comes in. And Krieg says, "You have her in room 1." And he says, "Definitely." And Krieg flips some switches on what's clearly a monitor. And Jan, sitting across the desk, can presume that he can see Lena on these screens. Room 1 is an interrogation room. It's been used that way by Krieg and his Dirty Deeds department for quite some time. And it's wired with video. And Krieg says, "I think I'll pay her a visit." And tells Jan, "Good job." And I think he even flips him like a US gold eagle coin. I don't know where he got it from, probably somewhere. And Krieg simply puts the M3 suppressed grease gun down on his desk and says, "Do me a favor, have somebody clean this for me." And walks down the hallway to interview room number 1. So, Wild Turkey 101 is also for me and everybody that's tuned in this far. Wow, I had no idea it would go this long. So a couple of things that I'm going to do. I'm going to, after this airs, it'll come out on a Friday. I will do a live the next Saturday. I usually do my lives at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, Wichita, Kansas. And we'll discuss kind of the arcs here, how this played out. I know I made mistakes on certain things. I know I didn't follow all the rules, but I didn't plan on following them to a T. It's not a teaching game. It was a playing game. I'm ecstatic with how this worked out. I wasn't sure how, first of all, how much fun it would be to play. A blast. I encourage everybody to try it. This Mythic system is awesome. 2, how much fun it is to watch. That's up to you folks, but I've been seeing the views climb. So please help me keep getting the word out on that. By no means do I think every episode was phenomenal. There's a couple times where even I've edited it and thought, okay, that's key, and there's some major plot points there, but could have done that better or should have done this different or whatever. I actually felt like I got a little bit better as we went along. That's how it should always be, hopefully, because then the show will just get better and better. I love your comments, so keep them coming. And I love to hear what the viewers, you guys, are interested in. I'll be honest with you, the Orphans didn't really capture my attention. I mean, I knew there were an event card draw that came in. Krieg, I think it was Law, I can't remember, 16, Be Generous or something. And I had, I think, 2 different commenters say they really wanted to know more about the Orphans. And I thought, okay, that's a good point. They ended up being a key part of the story, which is what is so awesome with this game. So, put thoughts and ideas in the comments. When I do the live, everybody will be able to chat, and I can answer questions. And I'm going to take a little bit of a pause from doing the game, a role-playing game, but I am going to jump back into, I did a little, it wasn't quite a one-off, but I did Into the Odd with a character named Vike and the twins, a couple little friends that he has, literally little friends. And what a cool OSR setting in Bastion Land. I'm going to return to that. I don't picture, or there might be 4 or 5 episodes with this. And maybe it continues later as well. But there's some other games I want to try out as well. And then based on comments and feedback, I've been hearing Season 2 with Casimir and Attic would be something folks would be interested in, and seeing where the if they live their life by the coin, There's a lot of positive things on there. But can they live their life by the coin in such an apocalyptic, evil, leftover world? We'll see. Please leave your comments. Join me for the live. I'll post some stuff on the date for that again and everything else, maybe at the end of this show even, because it'll be edited by then and closer to release. Thank you for joining me for the ride. We're going to close down Evil Twilight 2000 Season 1 with Kanan Krieg. It's in the bag. See you guys. Chief, Bonding with Board Games. Please subscribe, thumb it, like it. See you guys. Bye.